Because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a fucking comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything.
So, I guess I'm just gonna continuously pause it because you know it's gonna trigger copyright or whatever. But he's right. Treating it like it was a peace summit is absolutely ridiculous. And this is the kind of thing that they have. It's one thing to use rhetoric. Oh, Trump's Hitler. Trump's a Nazi. Yada yada yada. Like we just roll our eyes at that. The problem is they literally drank their own fucking Kool-Aid. And this is just kind of proof of that. That this is the liberal. This is a guy that helped me on my journey away from religion. Right? I watched his movie Religulous. Like, he is the quintessential liberal when it comes to like entertainment. And it blows my mind that this is where we are. This is where we are.
Except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute. So, thank you. So meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy.
Notice, I'm just going to say this, he doesn't dispute any of them. I just want to say that for the record.
Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog. His show is dead.
Okay, the show is dead one was a little bit out.
There's 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
That looks Photoshopped, but that's still just 100% baller move. Like from both of them, actually. He's like, I wanted him to sign it, and he did.
Which he did.
He also says something during this that I really want to like point to as to why I think Trump is so scary and why he is so effective at bullying essentially everybody to do what he wants.
With good humor. And I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Oh my God, Bill, are you going to say something nice about him? What I'm going to do is report exactly what happened. You decide what you think about it. And if that's not enough pure Trump hate for you, I don't give a fuck.
Thank you.
So...
I'm not going to lie, the first time I watched this, I was waiting for like the double middle fingers, but then I forgot. I'm the shitbag that does that, so.
So no, I didn't go MAGA. And to the president's credit, there was no pressure to. After we left the Oval Office, he showed me the little room off the office, you know, the one where Clinton used to...
There was a picture of Clinton the other day behind his desk in the Oval Office, and it said, young people don't realize that there are two people in this picture. And it was just Clinton sitting at his desk with his arms on the desk.
Okay. The blowjob room. Okay. Well, not anymore. That's where they keep the merch now. It is. And he gave me a bunch of hats, but he didn't ask me to take a picture in one, which I appreciated. The guy I met is not the person who the night before the dinner shit-tweeted a bunch of nasty crap about how he thought this dinner was a bad idea and what a deranged asshole I was. I read it and thought, oh, what a lovely way to welcome someone to your house.
If I had to guess, it was probably just he was throwing bones to his base. And he just shit talks everybody, so normal behavior. Like, it's funny just how out of pocket Trump can be, and everybody's just like, I mean, that's Trump. But that's the thing. That's like, here's the thing, man. Why can Trump act like a complete asshole and get away with it? Because he never pretended that he wasn't. I think that's really what it is. He never pretended to be, you know, approachable, or like he wasn't some rich asshole like Mitt Romney did, or any of the other like Republican or even Democrat politicians, where they all try to be relatable and they all try to, you know, they code switch and do all that stupid shit. You know, when they come down south, they talk down there like this. As if, whatever. I mean, to be fair, though, Hillary was from Arkansas, so she should have had a Southern accent. I actually don't remember what the Arkansas dialect sounds like. Arkansas, accent. Thank you. Because there's definitely difference between like Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida, right? Florida's definitely got more of a Latino bend to it. Let's just put it like that. I love my Cubans, man. You know what I'm saying? If you hate communism, we can definitely be friends. That's all I got to say about that.
But when I got there, that guy wasn't living there. Now, does Trump want respect? Of course. Who doesn't? My friend said to me, what are you going to wear to the White House? I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to dress like Zelensky. I'll tell you that. But, okay.
I hated this interaction. Not the fight that they had afterwards. The fact that the reporter called Zelensky out for not wearing a suit. And I think Zelensky did a really good job of slapping him back. It's like, if I'll wear the costume when the war's over. Like, that was a pretty good response. This is like the reason he's not wearing a suit. It's a straight PR propaganda kind of move where it's like he's showing solidarity with his people. They're at war, so he's not going to pretend that he's not going to walk around in a suit and pretend like they're not at war, right? That's kind of the whole meme of it. And good or bad, like, I respect the move, right? It's a thing that, yeah.
Just for starters, he laughs. I've never seen him laugh in public, but he does, including at himself. And it's not fake. Believe me, as a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it. And I thank you for them. No.
I missed that.
Okay, example. In the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, you know the best thing about him? His hair. I said...
Of fucking course, dude.
Well, there was also that whole bringing down communism thing, waiting for the button next to the Diet Coke button to get pushed and I go through the trap door.
I still think the contracts are out on that one, Bill. I think you're good.
But no, he laughed, he got it. I said to him at one point, Mr. President, you know the dog, that's unusual in the White House. He said, well, a lot of the presidents, they had a dog for political reasons. I said, no, people love dogs, that's what that is. Oh yeah, okay, that's true.
Does that not sound like something that he would do? Like, if you've ever watched Trump in some of his unfettered moments when he's just bullshitting with people, I could totally see that.
I'm telling you, what happened?
This reminds me of an anecdote I heard about him, about something that he said about lower class white trash people, like me. In the fact that he said, I'm just like them, I just have more money. And I mean, if you know white trash, if you know what I'm talking about, then you can kind of see it when the man has like a golden toilet and like gold filigree all over some of his ballrooms and stuff. It's just like, yeah, I could kind of see it. It's not like it's relatable in any way. It's not like he's actually some kind of like poor white person. That's not what it is. It's the fact that he has the same kind of white trash mentality where it's just gaudy shit all over the place.
At one point, we were walking through his amazing tour of the whole house. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election because I know he used the word lost. And I distinctly remember saying, wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that. He didn't get mad. He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected. People who don't look you in the eye. People who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing. People whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what?
It sounds like background music's a little loud.
None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine.
It happens.
There were so many moments when I hit him with a joke or contradicted something, and no problem. At dinner,
oh, like it's very weird that even a man like Bill Maher doesn't see this in him, and then he only sees the caricature that some of the media put up. Because let's be real, the right-wing media also puts a caricature of Trump, just in a more flattering light. But I mean, it is what it is.
he was asking me about the nuclear situation in Iran in a very genuine, hey, I think you're a smart guy, I want your opinion sort of way. And I said, well, obviously you're privy to things about it, I'm not, but for what it's worth, I thought the Obama deal was worth letting play out because we made Iran destroy 98% of the uranium, and they were 15 years away from a bomb. And then I said to him, but we got rid of that. You got rid of that. He didn't get mad or call me a left-wing lunatic. He took it in. I told him I thought
And the funny thing is that I was also against that. And the main reason is because, oh, they get rid of all their uranium, but we give them billions of dollars. What? It's like, okay, maybe?
parts of his plan for Gaza were wacky, but that I had supported him in the idea that Gaza could be Dubai instead of hell. I told him he was wrong when he tweeted the night before that I was critical of all things Trump. Not true. Check the tapes. Moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, loved it. The border did need to be controlled. I'm glad the cops are getting their morale back. DEI had gone too far. Biological men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries...
That's a big one for me. The NATO thing. This is why I hated everybody. Oh, he wants to break up NATO. And it's like, bro, you're such a fucking retard. He's talking shit because he wants them to pay. That's the fucking entire point. He literally does it every day. He does it all the time. It is a consistent pattern over and over and over again. He will shit talk the fuck out of you, and then when you come around and do what he wants, he will fucking glaze the ever-loving shit out of you. Right? That's his whole fucking modus operandi. It really bothers me because it worked. It fucking worked. All of them started paying their dues that they were supposed to pay instead of not. I think only Germany was even close to their So the whole point was that several of the countries, like I believe the deal is that they're supposed to pay a certain percentage of their GDP and spend it on defense. And he wanted them to increase their funding to be consistent with the promises that they made. And then they did. So it worked. Yeah, 2% defense investment guideline. That's what it is. Minimum of 2% of their GDP to defense spending. Yes. That's what the treaty says. And they weren't doing it. Trump got in, talked a bunch of shit, and they started.
should take in Arab. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take...
And it's one of these things about Europe paying for their defense that this is the part that really bothers me. We guarantee Europe's security. Not only do we guarantee Europe's security from outside influences, like Russia, for instance, but we also do it internally. So in case they decide to fucking go with war with one another, you get what I'm saying. I seriously doubt they would at this point, considering how closely they're aligned over the past like 50 years, 80 years. Yeah. But that's one of the reasons that Europe is as safe and secure as it is because it has the United States military backing it up. I don't know what Europe would look like if the United States hadn't been there as a defense backer the entire time. It is entirely possible that Russia would have taken large chunks of Europe. I mean, they had all the way up to Germany during the USSR. And then once that fell, you know, look at what Russia's been doing. I seriously doubt he would have been able to take much, Putin that is, out of Europe, but doesn't mean he wouldn't have tried. And if we're going to pay a gigantic military to secure world trade, to secure free world trade, to secure free trade around the world, and we're going to have our giant military literally occupy Europe so that it's safe and doesn't get invaded. So yeah, with the fact that the United States is basically securing free trade around the world and is ensuring the security of Europe as a whole, it kind of bothers me when they're like not living up to their treaty expectations. And now they are.
Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take in Arab refugees, like the million Syrians who wound up in Germany when Saudi Arabia took none. He said to me, "You're right, it took none." I said, "Well, you should remind your boyfriend in Saudi Arabia that the next time you see him." He laughed. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days.
Does it not speak to how fucked up it is that he has to say things like that?
You will. I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will.
Immediately, as soon as he made that statement, he had to genuflect to be like,
the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will.
Because he knows the people on his own team are going to eat him the fuck alive for even talking to the man.
Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days. He was even okay when I checked him on the orangutan lawsuit. He was. You know, he said to Dana White, "You know, Bill said my father was an orangutan, and I really love my father." And I said, "Well, Mr. President, I did that because I didn't like what you were doing regarding Obama's birth origins. I thought that was low." Again, no anger, just a little smile, as if to say, "Yeah, I get it." The most surreal part of the whole night was when I got home. I flew back right after.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty cool. Because they're literally talking about how he insulted Trump's father by calling him an orangutan. Like, if you did that to my mom, I probably wouldn't like you, right? So...
dinner, and I'm in bed watching 60 Minutes from the night before, and there's Trump in one of their stories, standing at a podium in a room that looked to me like one of the rooms and places we'd just been in. And he's ranting, "Disgusting, you're a terrible person." And I'm like, who's that guy? What happened to Glinda the Good Witch?
Glinda the Good Witch.
And why can't we get the guy I met to be the public guy? And I'm not saying it's our responsibility to do that. It's not. I'm just reporting exactly what I saw over 2.5 hours.
Again, genuflection to defense, where he's like, I'm not complimenting him. I'm literally reporting what happened. It's like,
I went into the mine, and that's what's down there. A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is fucked up. It's just not as fucked up as I thought it was.
That was pretty good. Let's listen to that one again.
White House. A person's down there for 2.5 hours. I went into the mine, and that's what's down there. A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is fucked up. It's just not as fucked up as I thought it was.
And the thing about it is like I said, this specifically, that he plays a crazy person on TV, shows you that he is using it as a tool, that is not who he really is, necessarily. Like, there may be a little bit of that in there, obviously. Like, even when I do that kind of stuff, like, it's still me. Even when I do, like, super, wacky tango shit on my stream, it's still me. It's just played up for effect. And if you're going to be a world leader and you want to appear to be a crazy strongman, and to be, because, yeah, that's what you do.
And I have no illusions now that I'm back to work at my job that he might start a new list. Because I don't have a good feeling and will be critical about a lot of what he's doing, the trade war and disappearing people, ruling by decree, threatening judges, gutting the government with glee. But I also think he now understands I have a job to do, or at least he did on this night, because he said to me early on that he'd seen our last episode, which was the Friday before this dinner. And he said, "I thought maybe you'd be nice, but you hit me really hard." I did, because I'm not going to pull my punches that presidents get to propose a third term for themselves. He understood that, and without animus. That doesn't mean he's not going to try to do it. At one point, I said to him, "You're scaring people. Do you really want to be scaring your own citizens so much?" And I know now you're all saying, "And what did he say to that?" Honestly, I don't remember. But it wasn't, "Okay, I'll stop." So MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing. Just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen and accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room. We were. And he said, "You know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot." And I said, "Same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all." And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk? As opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really? That's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else and we can hold ours? Okay, that's my report. You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high. Damn, missed opportunity.
All right, that's it. So, I mean, the thing that really, the main reason I wanted to watch this on stream is because it's telling that several times during this speech, especially at the very beginning, he had to literally defend himself preemptively because he knows the people on his own team will shit all over him and give him just all kinds of fucking shit for even talking to Trump, let alone not completely bashing him over and over and over again, right? So it's sad. It really is. And to be fair, there are people on the right who do exactly like this. Like, don't get me wrong. Like here's the problem that I think a lot of people have. It is something that a lot of right-wing people fell into this trap during Trump's first term, Biden's term. And what it is that it's like Tim Pool is a good example of this too, where once the culture shifted enough to allow liberals to control the culture, and that default Democrat policy was essentially the thing for the government, especially after Bush, because fuck that guy. That the left abandoned most of the principles that they said they would uphold. Free speech is the big one, right? With the online censorship, censoring people you don't like, blah, 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 blah. It's one of the reasons why the cultural right ascendancy was basically foretold back then, is because when you censor people, it does two things. It doesn't make people stop listening to them. What it does is it galvanizes that person to think they're right, because instead of proving them wrong, you simply shut them down. So that galvanizes them and makes them push harder. And what it signals to everybody else who's not sucking your dick, i.e. on your team, is that you're scared of them. And you're scared of what they have to say because it might be true. You're so scared, in fact, that you would go against your own principles to ensure that nobody can hear what they have to say. And you do this long enough, you do this enough times, and what happened on Twitter specifically is that all the people on the right were mostly level-headed, nice suit and tie kind of people, or not crazy. Not the crazy Nazi types, right? Screaming, fuck the Jews and all that other stuff. They were presentable because they had to be. Because if they stepped out of line even a little bit, they would get banned. But on the flip side of that, you had almost all of the crazy people on blue team who were just allowed to run free and say whatever the fuck they wanted. No matter how retarded, no matter how bad, you could literally juxtapose two people saying the exact same thing just from different sides of the aisle. One would get banned and one wouldn't. And so what that meant is that a lot of people, like Tim Pool, started to say things like, the right wing is now the party of free speech, or the right is now the Republicans are now the party of free speech, or the right is the party of free speech, or whatever the fuck it is, right? But he was wrong. He was wrong. The underdog is always the champions of free speech. The right is not the champion of free speech. The left is not the champion of free speech. Democrats are not champions of free speech. Republicans are not champions of free speech. The underdog is champion of free speech, because when you're the underdog, free speech is the only way that you can, exercise power. And when you're not the underdog, you want to tamp down free speech, because that's how you maintain power. Because God forbid you be criticized when you're governing, right? And so it created this false narrative that the right was now being basically disaffected liberals like me and Tim Pool and everybody else were basically moving to the right, and now the right was, champions of free speech. And that's just not true. That was never true. What it was is that, yes, disaffected liberals were moving more rightward, but they weren't joining the right. I'm not right wing. I'm not left wing either. I try to make decisions based on what I think and my own morality and principles, rather than team play. And I know everybody says that, but fuck them. I don't care. This is why I went through those court documents. This is why I said I was wrong. Right? This is why I was like, oh, I literally read the fucking law. I got the wrong information. I was wrong. 100%. No doubt. Easy. It's so fucking easy. It's not even funny. And it blows my mind that more people can't just do that. And I think going into the future, we're really gonna have a lot of these problems, is that these narratives are gonna pop up, and we're not gonna be able to get rid of them, and we can't, But like I was saying about, disaffected liberals moving to the right and being the champions of free speech and all the shit that, the supposedly liberals were champions for, they basically, it felt like they abandoned when they went woke, right? And yes, I can define wokeness. Fuck you. It is what happens when you take Marxist praxis and you apply it to things outside of economics, like race politics, gender politics, sex politics, and sexual orientation politics, where you take the Marxist paradigm of oppressor versus oppressed and you apply it to things where it's not applicable. Hell, it's not really applicable to economics either, but, communists are going to be fucking communists, so let them fucking be communists, I guess. It's not illegal, and it probably shouldn't be. That doesn't make them not retarded for believing essentially what is a religion. Like, if humans were ants, then communism would probably work. Yep, sure would. But we're not. Close, but no cigar. Anyway, so there was this false narrative that, the right is now the new counterculture. Tim Pool and Paul Joseph Watson said that a lot back during Trump's first term. And they were sort of right, but not really. Basically what it was is that everybody... that basically people on the right, people in the middle, and everybody in between allied together to fight off essentially woke bullshit. Not just woke, but the general idea of inserting gender and race politics into every fucking thing and talking about it incessantly, when most of the time we just don't need to. And dying on the hill of males in female sports. And I'm sure you've heard about that John Oliver thing where he basically just lies through his teeth and pretends like, he's funny. He pretends he's funny, so he can lie as much as he wants, right? When the literal expert he brought on is that males will always maintain a competitive advantage against females. That's just how biology works in most instances, right? Hashtag not all. So. And here's the really funny thing is it's easily disproven, because all male sports are unisex. If you're a woman or you're a female and you want to go play football, you can try out. You want to play basketball? You could try out. You want to play baseball? You could try out. You want to play hockey? You could try out. They don't prevent them from joining. They just can't compete with the men. And it's these things that basically lost the blue team cultural hegemony. Hegemony. It's what lost them their cultural hegemony. Because I absolutely hated the Republicans and red team for so long. Trying to ban video games, trying to ban music. Motherfucker, I listened to ICP and I played fucking Grand Theft Auto and all that shit. And you know what? I've never shot a single fucking person. Well, I've never illegally shot a single fucking person. We don't need to get into that. And not because of gangster rap or ICP or GTA. That's not how any of that shit works. I don't commit crime, and I never have. Outside of a few incidents when I was young that were, like I shoplifted when I was 15. I was a dumbass. Stole a CD. Like an idiot. And I never did it again. Easy peasy. See, this is the kind of like thing that I agree with. It's like 100%. The Metro prosecutor offered me probation for 6 months, and if I didn't fuck up, it would be expunged from my record. I just had to pay the government and take a class and, you know, pay my fine, take some stupid fucking class that was even more of a fine, and then I was good to go. And that's exactly how it should be. Like absolutely. And this is the way it should be with almost everything. It's like if you can come back from the brink, it doesn't really matter what your crimes are, with exceptions, obviously. You know, if you are someone who goes around and grapes women all day, every day, then yeah, you should be locked in a cage because you're an animal. If you're a psychopathic murderer, obviously. But it's one of those things where it's like, even if you've done those things, or excuse me, there are some things where there's just almost no coming back from, right? Killing a single person because you're more high on crack or something like that is different than if you premeditatedly murdered a bunch of people. Coming back from the brink is going to be a lot harder, right? Especially if you're, you know, a sexual assaulter or you do any of those sex crime shit. Like, it's a lot. I would say it's a lot harder to come back from that. Even if you've done your time, it's like, I don't want to associate with you at all. But you know, you committed armed robbery when you were 15. You get out when you're like 35 and you're like, I am fucking completely never doing that shit again. And you fucking set your life straight. While you were in prison, you did a bunch of stuff to make your life better. You got your diploma from high school and all this other stuff, and you've literally done everything you could to prove to civilization that you're good to go. I'm okay with that. And I love how I went off on that tangent. It just, like I said, it really, we really do live in just like upside down clown world. And I naively thought that liberals and Democrats were on the right side of history. I legitimately thought that. You know, gay marriage was one of those big things that I didn't understand as to why. It's like, we live in the United States of America, right? If I want to marry a man, I should be able to marry a man. Like, what the fuck is? Yeah, it's an institution of religion, 100%. But our government is not run as if it's a religion. We are not a nation. We are not a Christian nation. We are a nation of Christians. That's essentially what it boils down to. And it's simple, because I can I can literally walk down the street saying "Hail Satan." I can erect statues of Baphomet on my own property. I can worship any pagan god I choose. I can shit all over Christianity 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And there ain't a goddamn thing they can do about it. And that's the way it should be. But it really felt like Blue Team got high on power. And then you had all of these essentially, you know, Marxist individuals who basically marched their way through the institutions, who had all this critical race theory bullshit ingrained in their skull. And in my opinion, it is essentially a religion, because It's just like communism. Like, none of it's based on fucking facts. It's all based on feels, and it doesn't hold up to scrutiny, and it never has. And when you apply that Marxist practice to anything other than economy, it's essentially listen and believe. You know, when Bell Hooks wrote her treatise on fucking feminism and all this other shit, she essentially asserted that the United States was a white supremacist patriarchy and could never be redeemed. And nowhere in that book did she supply any evidence of that. It was just stated and moved on. And motherfuckers cite this bitch constantly. So I don't want to fucking hear it. And then anyway, all right, let's